right, hello everyone. Thanks so much for taking time out of your busy schedule today and joining us for the first session of our What's New in Solid Edge ST8 series, Sync Design Intent. My name is Diana Dietrich. I'm the marketing specialist here at Swish Technologies, and I will be your moderator for this session. Just a little bit about Swish Technologies. We've been a leading provider and partner of Siemens PLM software for over 10 years, headquartered in St. Louis, Missouri. We are dedicated in providing companies like yours the best training, support, and software, including NX, Team Center, and Solid Edge, necessary to accelerate productivity in your processes. Also, we pride ourselves in delivering process-based training solutions tailored to fit your company's needs. With our educational training services, our goal is to make you a leader in your field while staying ahead of the competition. Presenting today is application engineer Dylan Melick. Dylan has seen the growth and changes in CAD design and has acquired a vast knowledge on a variety of topics, including sheet metal fabrication, structural design, surfacing, rendering, and animation. He is a certified Solid Edge professional and training instructor with a great working knowledge of the program tool spanning 20 years. Our agenda for the day is on Sync Design Intent. Following a brief history of the topic, Dylan will be providing a demonstration within Solid Edge ST8. We will then end with Q&A, so if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to add these into the questions box located in your GoToWebinar control panel. Dylan will have your questions answered following the demonstration. All right, take it away, Dylan.
All right, thank you, Diana. So yes, today we're talking about Solid Edge and design intent. All right, so let me get Solid Edge up. All right, so just to clarify what we're actually talking about, let me open up I'm going to open up a step file and translate that into Solid Edge. And we'll discuss design intent. So let me do a couple things here. Let me turn off the shadows and reflections. First thing to notice is my parts, the location. All right, so within Solid Edge we have design intent. And in previous versions we had what we call live rules. Design intent is kind of the overview of live rules. So if you notice when I pick a face, we get this box now. We used to get this box down at the bottom with live rules where it would change colors, it had different icons, and it was, once you understood it, it was easy to kind of figure out how it worked. But it was a little clumsy at first before you could actually get to use it. Now we have this design intent. So every single time you do a modification in Solid Edge Synchronous, it interrogates the geometry looking for design intent. So they simplified the interface, allowing you to see immediately what's going to be picked up as design intent when you start making a change. So for example, if I pick a face, it gives me your common list of concentrics and metric, but when I start dragging this, you notice it only shows me coplanar. If you do want to see the good old-fashioned live rules, you can, any given time, you can hit the advanced button, and you still get the window down here that you would normally get. And you can still check and uncheck. Maybe I only want that one face to move. Maybe I want both faces to move. So again, it's interrogating your design intent. So I could take a look at this geometry where it's at in space. Let me go ahead and pin this over here. So you can pin and unpin your design intent, so it will pop in wherever you happen to pick. So it's going to pop in proximity. I kind of like leaving it in one location. Another thing you could do is actually watch a little video. So it kind of walks you through the process of design intent, a little video built into it. Of course, the help file is always available. It takes you out to Siemens.com to an HTML. It shows you all kinds of things about the design intent. All right, so enough about that. Let's take a look again at the model. So let's take a look at this. I don't want to change the size of this. So as I start growing through it, I can notice it's only changing on this side, not this side. I could take the time to have to, relate these together, but that's really not going to be needed. Something I'm going to do is move this entire piece of geometry back to my coordinate system. A lot of the symmetry and the relationships are built into the coordinate system. So I'm going to use a simple tool, so a steering wheel. And what I'm going to do is actually use a key point. I want to say midpoint. I'm not sure which edge I'm on. It doesn't really matter. And all I'll do is quickly point my steering wheel from where I want to go to where, or from where I want to go from to where I want to go to, and just go ahead and slide it down. So for those who use the ordered environment, you know that is almost virtually impossible to do in an ordered style geometry. Let me go to my ISO view. So I like my parts, I want one of the flat faces up. So again, I'm going to take my geometry and let me reposition this a couple more times using the steering wheel. So now I'm just going to go rotate it, and I'm symmetric about these sides because if I grab this inside face, let's do a little test here. So this is how I like testing it. All right, so I got symmetry on both sides and I got coplanarism. So my design intent is now telling me that I have both styles picked up. All right, so I also need, again, I would like symmetry about the x-axis. So I just grab my part and position my steering wheel and drag it to where I want. All right. Now let's go back into my ISO view. Let's drag these faces. So it's moving both faces. If I change both sides, hopefully it'll change both sides. All right, so I'm building design intent by nothing more than moving my geometry to the coordinate systems and letting the software interrogate it and see what's going to be needed. All right, so let me undo those couple steps. All right, so the first thing I know I need to do is I need to make this part longer. So as I pick it, and now my bar is going to have considerable more features. If I grab that, now I have concentricity, symmetry, tangencies, etc. And again, it doesn't slow me down. I didn't have to do anything specific. Now I can actually throw some dimensions on here. Actually, I should do that to start with. Let me go ahead and position this with a dimension. All right, so for those who do know our dimensioning style, they know you have a ability to change the direction you want your parts to go. If I wanted this to go symmetric, I could put it in the middle. If I wanted the little arms to go to the right, I can go to the right. All right, but keep in note that when I make my change here, you notice it's moving to symmetric. That is because my design intent overrides my dimension value. So if I do want one side to move or the other side to move, I can still do that. I can come over here and say, you know what, I don't want that to move symmetrically. I just want one side to move. And I know I want that to be 120. And any given time while I'm in the command, I can come back and turn on my design intent and say, you know what, make that symmetric. And the software will go ahead and reinitiate that. And there we have it. All right, so that's about 120. And I know another design change I'm going to need for this part. I'm going to make it a little wider in this little body right here. I can start dragging this, and it's symmetric on both sides, but I don't have the inside pocket moving with it. And I could go through and grab a few faces, but what I like doing is building a relationship into it, or excuse me, building intelligence into it using a relationship. What I'm going to do is a command called rigid. So I know with these two faces, they're fine where they're at. I'm going to say I want this face and everything between that face. I want those to go ahead and maintain themselves. And now let's put a dimension on there. Let's test that out. So from the outside to the outside, I want that to be 60. So let me go ahead and pop that in there. And there we have it. Both faces moved. Everything moved on the inside with it. I didn't have to go grab anything too much. So I built a relationship in here. Now I have my relationship. So I have the two rigid faces. All right, so that looks good. All right, so I may also need to get rid of some geometry. I also got a note that they need to mount this face to something. And of course I have a big pocket here. All right, so there's a couple ways I can go through there and grab all that geometry. I can window, but I do want to leave the bottom face. So the first thing I'm going to do is retrieve some geometry, because I see a chamfer here, and I know there's a couple things in Solid Edge we can retrieve. We can first off, let's go ahead and change our holes. So it immediately goes through the geometry, interrogates it, looks for all the holes. If there was more than just one hole, say it would list them here, but it just sees that as a single counter bore hole. And now I know I need this to make it as a through hole. We don't need the counter bore, and let's make it 12 millimeter. Say okay. So it basically went through and added this whole feature to my Pathfinder. Let's do the same thing for my chamfers. I can retrieve those. So I can recognize both chamfers. You know, I know the one on the bottom. I can go ahead and make that 2 on the fly while I'm creating it. And let's go with that. All right. There we go. So I got my chamfer on the bottom. Now you notice I actually have the dimension value. And I was going to get rid of this top area. So what I'm going to use is a selection manager tool, which allows me to go recognize types of, I didn't create this as a feature, but it looks at the geometry, interrogates it, and says, hey, the design intent was this as a feature. You know, if I wanted this to be just to be a rib, it looks like that's taking the entire middle section out. I don't want that. Maybe a cutout would work, but it looks like it's going to leave the chamfer. So let me go ahead and just grab this feature and delete this, and let's see what it leaves. So if I turn it over, so you notice we still have the pocket on the bottom, but we have the flat face on the top. You know, I didn't really spend too much time. I haven't been up in my menu bars doing much up here, creating or changing features, just using the steering wheel and my selection tool to grab the geometry. Again, the design intent makes it so much easier to do this without me having to build it all into my sketches. All right, so speaking of sketches, all right, you notice this middle section is pretty thick. So I know I need that web section to be a little thinner. I don't know what that, I can try to put a dimension from here to some point on the bottom, but we have a much simpler tool for that. It's called life section. It allows you to put a piece of geometry, which is a sketch, anywhere you want along the part. I can actually create it on reference planes. I could drag it through geometry. So let's create one in the opposite direction as well. So there's my two life sections. So what can I do with that? Again, like I placed the dimension on the overall hole location, I'm going to go ahead and say I need to, first off, change the thickness of this. So let me go ahead and drag that out. And I know, let's go with 8, because I think I want an 8 wall thickness. So that drops it down. That looks good there. And I also need to thicken these walls up since this is a lot longer part. Oops, let me zoom in and do that again. And the same thing. Sorry. A little too quick with my mouse. Right clicking. There we go. One more time. There we go. All right. So I know I'm going to have to make that 8, so let's thicken that up. And I'm going to have to do the same thing on this wall. Don't want the outside wall. Let's go ahead and grab the inside wall. Taking that. You notice chamfer change, all the radius change, everything blends together. Actual chamfer doesn't actually change, so, or the radius doesn't change. Understand that. I know these need to be 8 permanently. I don't want those to change, so I'm going to come back and lock them. So as I go through, my my design intent pops up, and that looks pretty good right there. All right, so I can go ahead and get rid of that and turn my life sections off. I also know I need to put some holes in here for it to mount to. So instead of retrieving holes, let's just create a few holes here, and let's place them on this face. And I'm going to use the current geometry to do this with. So I'm going to go ahead and grab, we'll go ahead and center these on this inside corner. There we go. And I could see immediately the location with that radius being so tight that those, I would never be able to get a bolt in there, or a bolt head or in a nut. So I'm going to go through and make this a little bit smaller for me to, or a little larger radius for me to do that with. So let me grab that radius. Again, there's no radius in the Pathfinder. My design intent is going through, it's finding concentricity, it's finding tangencies, finding dimensions if needed. I know I do have some dimensions on these. But I notice it's picking the inside radius and the radius on that. I don't want to do that. My design intent is only to change the inside radius. I'm going to say, you know what, just go ahead and grab that inside one. Let me bump that to 7. All right, so there we have it. Makes a little extra space in there for me to put a nut in there. All right, so that can bolt that to the top. All right, so another note would be these little tabs. Well, if I mount this flat on the top, these little tabs are going to be in the way. I could cut them off, but it's going to leave the hole a little close to the edge. So let's see what can be done with this. So I'm going to do a complete design change, which was not intended for this part initially. So let's see what can be done. So I'm going to grab those faces, and move steering wheel to a point where I want to rotate by, and let's give this a shot. I'm going to go ahead and grab my torus and start rotating this around. Let's go 33 degrees. I actually should have gone more than that. That'll work now. All right. Don't need these radiuses on top now because I'm actually going to use a relationship again to make these look exactly right. Because I want these tangents to this face. So I'm going to let my design intent come into play doing this. So I'm going to come over here and say, let's make a relationship between this face, make it tangent to this face, and only have to do it to the one face because, again, design intent is going to go interrogate the geometry and say, hey, it's exactly the same as these other sides and this other corner, so let's make them the same. So I didn't have to go and reapply a relationship to all those. So as you can see really quickly, let me throw a few dimensions on there. I might have locked these in the opposite wrong direction. I do need that to be a little bit bigger. I think I didn't lock that one, so let me go ahead and retrain that to 120. All right, so what I just did is turn on my solution manager. So this was previously used in other versions of Solid Edge. It allows you to look through the geometry and see if it's going to change or how it's going to change before it kind of happens. All right, so you have this little color bar over here. It kind of gives you some feedback. Again, do you have to use this? No, you can always uncheck it so it doesn't bring it up. But what it does is interrogates it and tells you right now nothing looks like it's going to fail. Nothing is in orange. Everything is solvable, rigid. All right, so I do have those being rigid. But again, my design intent, I'm able to come over here and possibly turn that off. Once I did that, of course, I don't want that to be done like that. So let me go ahead and undo that. Let me reset my design intent. Anytime you want to reset it, you can always turn on your live rules and hit reset. But we don't necessarily, obviously, don't need to do that right now. So let me go ahead and just bump that out and get to 120. Oops. I'm not sure what I have locked there. I've locked. I have locked something there, but anyway, back to the part. So again, that is all these up. That is my design intent to go through and make a new part from a previously designed part, and you can see how fast and easy it was building that intelligence into your geometry and having it maintained and completely changing the design within a few minutes. All right. Diana?
All right, so Dylan, we have actually a couple of questions in the queue today. The first one is there anything new in sheet metal live rules?
Sheet metal live rules actually behaves the exact same way it did previous versions. The only difference is they still have what's called thickness chain, and that is really the only difference. So let me just grab a contour flange. So for a live rule, yeah, the only difference one is here what they call thickness chain. Typically, if you grab a face, want to drag it, but you can also turn off thickness chain, and it allows you just to grab one face and drag it. So that's really the only difference. And it behaves is that the live rule, or excuse me, design intent would be the exact same that they have in Solid Edge Assembly. So it's kind of one and the same. Okay.
So the second question we have in our queue is, can we go back to previous setting of live rule in ST8?
I think I think if they're talking about just using live rules alone, no, there's really no setting to maintain this live bar. Once you get used to this new design intent, looking at it's actually that's a lot more easier to read than it is to come down here and look at these. But they still give you the option to come into by hitting the advanced button. So it's one more click to get to them, but it's still there. But after you get used to it, you won't need it.
The third question that we have in the queue is, can you make design intent stay on screen all the time?
No, there's no really setting. I was actually looking for that yesterday. There's a few things under, I believe it was helpers, but it just basically is talking about making the advanced design intent panel, make it vertical or show a panel in document view. So I think you can dock it in your path, or dock it as a window over here, but I don't think you can actually move it on the screen. I think it only pops up when you pick a face.
Then we have one final question in our queue. So is it still recommended to use the ordered environment for complex geometry, such as involute splines on a gear?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, really depends. If you're going to change it, then you don't worry about it. Then you can use Synchronous because it's a lot faster. But if you're ever going to make like a pattern part, like a family of parts, and I would probably do that in order still. Because we actually have we still have our we call it machinery library that uses ordered to design all the sprockets, pulleys, beams, and stuff like that. So that's still done in ordered in their tool. So I recommend the same.
All right, thanks, Dylan. So we are out of time for the afternoon, however, we want to be sure that if you do have any questions and say they do arise in the next few days or anything, you have the right contacts to go to. So if you have any questions relating to utilizing the program tool, please feel free to reach out to Dylan by email or by phone. He's more than happy to help. Or please reach out to your Swish sales representative for further information. If you don't have a sales representative from Swish Technologies, please feel free to reach out to me, Diana, and I'll direct you to our sales manager here at Swish Technologies. Once again, thank you so much for attending Sync Design Intent. We hope that you will be able to join us for our other sessions within the series to learn what else is new. Our next second session is in the series is Pattern by Table, which will be next Wednesday, September 16th at 2 p.m. Central Time. So be sure to register if you haven't done. We'll be sending out a recording of the specific session to you in the next few days. So be on the lookout for that email. All right. Thanks so much, everyone. Bye.